Hey guys, it's Fat Sal here. That's my new name. I have heart failure. I have an echocardiogram Monday, and my cardiologist told me I weigh more than ever, and I have to do some light cardio at the gym. And that leads me to the title. I'm sitting here because I'm trying to block the light with my head. I just read this thing that says 21 things that losers do. And as I'm reading it, I agree with everything they said. Of course, I can't pull it up now because I'm on my phone like an idiot. But as I'm going through it, I'm like, yes, I agree with these things, but I am also guilty of a lot of them. I mean, some of them I happen to be working on in therapy now. Like, not even after reading that list, it's just something the therapist noticed that I need to work on. And other stuff I have to work on. And then some stuff I think I'm good at. I think I've improved at taking accountability and stuff. But there was one thing that struck me that I wanted to talk about. And that's if you let your ego still at an older age, once you're over 40, make decisions for you to be in competition with people or enemies with them rather than maybe learn from them, like, and make an ally out of them. Like, maybe I'm not the smartest person in the world just because I had a few successful runs at a few different things. I've also failed at a million things, so who am I to think I'm better than somebody? And that directly relates to my health. So I found out today, my dad took me to the gym because I said, no, I'll go with my friends. They're big shots. They're on steroids. I don't need you. He goes, listen, kid, I might be 82 years old, but I was a professional boxer. Now, I never knew that. I did know that, but I just found out the first time we tried to go to the gym together when I first got diagnosed with heart disease. But I never knew that as a child or anything. Now, you're not going to find him on Google or anything. He admits he was 0-3. That was his record back in like the 50s. And then he went to the Army, and that was it. But he still knows boxing moves. And he goes, come to the gym with me one day. And if you think you're such a badass, I'll hold the bag. And you just, make moves on it. Jab, hook, uppercut, do whatever you want. And let's see how fast you get winded and out of breath, especially with heart disease. And, oh my God, do I have a new respect for boxers. Holy shit. I mean, I can't imagine how a boxer goes one full round with another human being, let alone 15 rounds and 12 rounds. And it got me into, I'm reading a Sonny Liston Muhammad Ali book right now. Then I have a Hagler Hearns book on deck that I'm going to be reading because I've been reviewing their clips on YouTube. And it made me think about, like, why don't I use my resources? Instead of having an ego, like I thought, and having beef with people on YouTube, like, I don't have his number or a channel, so I wanted to go through this process. I wanted to ask BK, I'm going to be spending a lot of time in Lower Manhattan, and he, I believe, has a gym or something in Staten Island, or either owns it or works out there, or I don't know. Somebody told me he was a boxer. I don't know if that's even true or not. But if he is, why not, he seems to look out for me. Or, when people get a little harsh with me in chats, I notice he's like, yo, don't take it too personal. So I think our beef is done. I mean, on my end, it certainly is. I've apologized publicly. And instead of holding any type of resentment towards him, which is just a resentment is just an excuse to relapse, by the way. Why don't I take advantage of maybe a new ally and say, yo, I'm probably like a half hour away from you every day. Maybe I'll pay like a regular customer. I'm not asking for anything for free, of course. Maybe BK can help me out, man. I'm ordered to be doing light cardio, by the way. So don't be killing me if you do say yes. Don't be trying to make me prove I'm tough, and because I am also on testosterone shots legally from a doctor. And I'm 315 pounds, so you'd be surprised. I can lift some weight, and I do have some pack behind my punch. My problem is I'm winded in 30 seconds. I mean, I can't believe these boxers, go a full round, let alone, it amazes me. It amazes me. So I'd like to do light cardio, but I'd like to do it in a boxing situation instead of being bored, fucking sitting on a treadmill. I mean, maybe I'll do a treadmill too if that's what he tells me. I'm going to listen to him because he's going to be my coach if he accepts this. And I'll pay whatever people pay for a personal trainer. I didn't Google it or whatever. And if he doesn't want to because of time or he just doesn't do that kind of thing, or he doesn't think, or maybe he thinks I'm just a psycho and doesn't want me around his gym because eventually I'll have a suicidal episode or something. I respect that. Maybe he can refer me to somebody. I don't know. All I'm saying is that's what I'm trying to work on. Also one of the things was, you can't make people accept your apologies, okay? It's time I have to accept that I go on 4 shows on YouTube that I enjoy going in their chats and watching their shows, okay? 2, I'm just going to say off the bat. Common Sense and Howie, I think, have the greatest show. They just go after all the bullies, and I watch their show with pride, and I love it because they're smart, sophisticated people. And Howie, you might be able to give me some advice on the boxing thing too. I have a feeling you know what I'm talking about when I say how winded people, how people don't understand how tiring a full round of boxing is. I wasn't around for a few weeks. Something happened in my life, and I'm not going to get into that. But so I got back on. And I missed a couple of the Common Howie shows, which I'm upset about, because I wanted to say hello to them in the chat. And then I caught a Gunsmoke show in the afternoon. The guy Scott, I gotta say, he mentioned something. He's smarter than I thought. I know he doesn't really like me, but he said something pretty smart and about me and where maybe I've been. But I'm not. Again, it's not what you think. I'm not saying I was part of that thing, but it's just, anyway, my point is, this guy Darren on that show was like, have thick skin. Gunsmoke didn't say hello to me either. But if you've been through what me and Gunsmoke have been through, and you purposely see him skipping my comments, and after I'm shouting him out 1,000 times, he's still mad at me. It's not about thick skin. I'm sick of people saying I don't have thick skin. I hang out with the same tough guys you did in the locker room, and I played sports my whole life. You know what I mean? Like, believe me, I know how to break balls. Come hang out with me and my friends one day. You'll see balls broken like you've never seen in your life. So it has nothing to do with thick skin. It has to do with liking to know where you stand. So, for example, I can't be mad at Gunsmoke for not forgiving me. That's my point. He probably thought in his head that when I left his show that day, I was going to go on my computer and do a show about him and this and that. Guys, I ain't that guy anymore. I'm trying to tell you, I wish him nothing but the best. I'm not going to go in his chat anymore just so I don't end up feeling some type of way. Why would I put myself through that, He can do it on his own timeline and reach out to me one day and say, I forgive you, bro. But I can tell right now he doesn't, and he doesn't have to. He's given me more than a few chances. The third show I go on is FPS. Now, FPS has me blocked. I never caused trouble in his chat. I did have one mental breakdown on his show, which we addressed. I thought we were okay with each other. I didn't think he hated me that much. He did. The last thing I've heard him say about me was I'm hopeless. When I disappeared into therapy, or I forget the exact word he used, but I didn't think it was harsh. but I didn't expect to be blocked. And the thing is, I'm kind of addicted to his show. I thought he did a really good show about Nadu and Sakali the other day. And by the way, I'm going to talk about that at the end too. So I emailed him and asked him if he wanted to unblog me because I watched his show. And, you know, I'm going to start like donating to people because that's the right thing to do. I learned a lot recently about electronic banking. I'm not just a cash man anymore. I'm trying to improve my credit. So, you know, I'll absolutely donate to my, you know, give a tip. I call it a tip because that's what you guys are getting, deserve, I feel. But donation, if you want to call it, whatever. So, you know, FBS, nothing, I can't blame him if he doesn't want me on his chat, or I can't even blame him if he doesn't want to take the time to look through his shit to unblock me. That's how real I am at this point, and how I have to take accountability just for my side of the street. Now again, let me make it clear, the two names I just said, Gunsmoke and FBS, I have nothing against, and if they do not forgive me for my past transgressions, I'll have to be patient. And if they never forgive me, I understand. God knows I probably have not forgiven people for a lot less, okay? So that's one of the things I also learned when I read this 21, you know, 21 things losers do. It's very interesting. It's a meme and it was bullshit, meant to be bullshit, but, you know, if you suffer mental health issues, it actually makes sense. It's something that I would print out and use if I was teaching like mental health something, or teaching like a course at a psych ward, or a group, having a group session or something. The other thing is the other show I watch and love and I am addicted to. So basically, I'm going to continue to watch FBS and hope he blocks me because I'm addicted. I'm going to not watch Gunsmoke anymore because I think he gets uncomfortable when I'm in the chat. I'm not trying to make myself important, but I truly think that's how much he doesn't like me. So that's cool. What's it called? So Common Sense and Howie have done nothing for me to believe that they're mad at me, and I have nothing to be mad at them about, and I am grateful to go in their chat all the time and see people and say what's up. And you know, I can't stress enough, I've made clear on here that I probably sound like a fucking fanboy. I love those two guys. But there's another person I love that a lot of people don't know. I've been on his panel, on his show, and I really like, even though, you know, I went a little nuts one day when he was on the show. And that's Frank Fortolino. So 52 Topics is a show that I watch religiously. I think that's a great show. The Ridgewood story is great. He also seems to, I agree with things. I see certain people in life get it, like the humor and the sarcasm and the reality. And even when him and Howie and Common are just shooting the shit on one of their shows, whichever show, let's say Frank jumps on Common's show. And now you got Frank, Common, and Howie shooting shit. I'm telling you, I relate to that chemistry and them looking back on things and talking about things and, you know, so I really, no one ever watched my award show for 2025, but I actually gave 52 Topics the Show of the Year award because I think the lives are great and I think the Ridgewood stories he's been doing have been great. You know, so that's really it. I want to ask BK if he could help with my fat ass. I'm 315 right now. I'll know Monday if my ejection fraction is below, you know, 30%. That's not good. If it's back down to like 15%, then it's more of a medication thing. You know, I'm going to need time to get to that light cardio. But just so you know, in the last year, I went from 15% when I was diagnosed, and I got it all the way up to 50%. And nobody could believe it, because I just got off a 10-gram cracker on a day for months. And I mean, so you never know things are just unexplainable. Like, somebody might smoke for 100 years and not get cancer, then the person that quit at 18 gets cancer, you know. So I wanted to also address Gunsmoke show. I'm not gonna lie, I did watch the replay today, and I saw Common and Jeff Nadeau talking a little bit, and I wanted to talk about the Sakali thing. What he did, I think, is completely crazy. Whether he believed in it or was hyped up on Adderall and steroids, I don't know, but I didn't research it enough to really dig deep and insult anyone or make an accusation against anyone. I will say this, Jeff Nadeau has been, you know, calling out his shit since he started that crypto thing, and for whatever reason they're going at it. I don't know. I think it's getting serious because it seems to be the topic of a lot of MobTube shows right now. And that's it. So, it just reminded me, you know, I heard now there was a second launch and a third launch, you know, and it reminded me of my first job out of high school. I was a handicapper in a town called Merrick for some guys that were older than me. They graduated a few years ahead of me. And, to this day, they do this job. You know, it's different now with the technology, but 26 years later, they're still sports handicappers. This was in 1998, actually, was when this happened. And I got this job. My name was Steve DePay, and we would get our leads from people that called in sports magazines or the Sunday morning sport hotlines, and they would want picks and pay money. You know, and the legalization of gambling only made this business better. That's why they still do it. Every one of my bosses and coworkers from that little tiny, shitty, cockroach-infested office in 1998, they're all millionaires and this and that. Now, the only time I ever made money with them was when, well, I'll tell you that, I owe you a story. So that's the story I'm going to tell you to say goodbye. It's a 5-minute story. But I just want to say, one of the things, the rebuttal pitches were, we would hope a game lost. You know? So we could say, I'm glad we got that loss out of the way. It's sort of like when you're looking at a roulette wheel and you're like, oh, red hasn't hit in like 7, 8 times. I'm going to put all on red. Or, you know, or 13 hasn't hit all day. You know, and it's like when you win 10 games in a row, you're due for a loss. So that was always the pitch. When the guy would call me and be like, yo, Philadelphia lost last night. What the fuck? I want my money back. I'd be like, bro, I was over 90% in the last 3 weeks. I had to lose at some point. I'm glad I got it out of the way. Now I'm going to give you something I want you to put all your money on. Call your bookie right now, put 10,000 on it. I only want 1,000 of it. You know what I mean? And we would get these people to send us money before giving them the picks. Then we'd give them free picks and see what happens and hope they win. But one interesting story, and it was the time. It's when I quit that business and things got a little hairy. Vince McMahon came out with something called the XFL in 2000 or 1999. Now, this was such a shit show, and the gamblers, this is when I learned gambling was a real disease. They were so bent on these games being fixed that the first game was a Monday night game or something with New York and another team. Now, because we were all calling from New York with New York accents, listen, we used to collect our money Western Union. We didn't even take debit cards back then. Like, we just did Western Union. They would send us the money with a password. We'd go pick it up, and then we'd give them their picks. We convinced every client we had that the game was fixed, and Vince McMahon had fixed the game. In the first game, New York versus so-and-so, New York was going to win, I think was our pick, that it was fixed. This was so real that there was no Western Union, no anything. We actually flew to these people's houses, and these are all truck drivers and big businessmen, oil magnates, wannabe gangsters. We met about 30 clients. About 2 of them were mine. Most of them were my bosses and coworkers. We met them in Las Vegas, on the floor of Las Vegas. I remember that time I stayed at the Tropicana, and then I remember trying to do it. I tried to do it once before, and I stayed at the Luxor that time. But I stayed at the Tropicana this time. I went to the first ever Pacquiao Marquez fight at the MGM, and was that the next time? But whatever, whatever. The point is, we met these people in person. We started giving them our real names because they were paying $1 million for the fix. And then betting their life. And the majority of them pretended they were gangsters and might have been gangsters. I don't know. But I'm talking, my friends were taping money to their chest. And, I brought my girlfriend with me. And my girlfriend that got murdered, the one I was with for 8 years in high school, she came with me because she's... her and her friend, actually, Jen Woods, she came with me too. So I had 2 girls with me to help me get my bearings across. I only had, like 4 players on the whole fixed thing, because I was very bad at this particular sale. But just off that fixed game, I made $150,000. My boss, that still owns one of these companies to this day, he made about $6 million that weekend. Just for the XFL alone, we set up a satellite office with one of my best friends from high school. We called him Chicken. That was his nickname. I'm not going to say his real name because he too still does this for a living. But his girlfriend was best friends with my girlfriend that I just told you got murdered. So this is, how close it was of a situation. So he told me, keep an eye on my girl. I'm moving to Cali for this season because we're going to set up a satellite office and, meet people in person and just kill it. We're going to fucking tell everyone shit's fixed and we're going to make millions and rob all these gamblers. And I said, go for it. And he ended up by week 2 getting chased home. Man, I'm talking, he put a deposit on an apartment. He set up a whole life in California. And he was home by week 2. We had to move our office from Merrick. People were coming with suits saying they were gangsters and they worked for so-and-so out in Las Vegas. And my boss got threatened every day. At that point, I quit. I left. I was selling weed and doing fine without that shit. I sucked at it anyway. But the people who had talent at it, they stuck with it. There was some legends in it. There's a guy named Stu Fine that I'll name. He was our competition, I remember. And my boss buried him. He became much more better at it than him, stole all his leads. And there was a lot of shady shit going on back then with that business. But again, there was a loophole. You were just giving advice for entertainment purposes only, blah, blah, blah. No one got arrested. Sort of like that movie, Two for the Money. And no one was getting arrested. And all that. No one was taking the bets themselves, which is what I wanted to do. I mean, these people were truck drivers, driving across the country, oil, like I said, anything from businessmen, CEOs, to truck drivers, especially for some reason. They were our target audience, and they were the ones with the biggest gambling problems. So I feel like Dominic did that, okay, we got the scamming part out of the way. Let's do a second launch. And that's how it's coming off to me. That's why I brought it up. And that's really it. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Anyone who watched, BK, if you happen to watch, get back to me about the boxing thing. I'd really appreciate it. You know my number, 516-675-0096. Even though a troll has been harassing me, I took my number down because of it. A guy named Gary Coleman has really been trolling my phone hard, so I just took it off. And then I blocked him and all that stuff, but we'll see. He was able to get through my blocks on my live yesterday because he had like 10 troll accounts, and then he was able to get through my phone blocks because he had like 10 burner phones, but eventually he ran out of burner phones, and I haven't heard from him, but I have 71 text messages from him, calling me the N-word and calling me a racist faggot and all this shit, and it was very bizarre. But again, next time I'm on, I'm gonna go through this list of 21 things fucking losers do. And it's not about drug addicts or people with mental health issues. I know many successful, normal people, civilians, I call them, earthlings, we call them in AA, that do half the things on this list. It's almost normal. Nobody's perfect. It's almost normal to do some things on the list, but to do as many as I do, I had to really do some inventory of myself, and I hope it works, but you can't do it alone. I learned part of it is letting people in, and I have such a hard time asking for help that even coming on here asking, in my head, I'm like, what if BK really hates my guts and just, let me off the hook with this fight, with this fucking beef we had because he knew I was a suicidal basket case. You know what? I'm going to take a shot and take his loyalty as a sign of realness. I say it all the time about, like I said, Gunsmoke, I'm convinced you hate me. I get it. I always say I hope Howie and Common truly forgive me and meant to help me that day, and I do believe they did. And even in my regular life, I've been talking to family a lot more about things. I've been less shady. I'm trying not to live a double life anymore and be very honest about things. And some good things have slowly been happening to me. All I could do is pray for Monday at 10 a.m. My echocardiogram goes good. I have a high ejection fraction. And then I live. My cardiologist never gave me a time frame. Finally, last time I asked him, when am I going to die? Because I never was on YouTube, Facebook. My Instagram says I was on since 2015. That wasn't me. That was my girlfriend that made that for my kids. I personally never did social media until I was diagnosed with heart failure because I wanted to reach out and make amends to a lot of people I couldn't find. They did not have phone numbers anywhere, and I went online and you could just see when somebody's eating at the Taco Bell up your block, and I was like, what the fuck? And I ended up making amends with a lot of people I grew up with, and it was a good thing, but except for this YouTube shit got me a little crazy. But, so I said to him, so I thought I was basically going to die. He told me there's no surgery or bypass for this. You need a heart transplant. Now, I've been to rehab 4 times since I was diagnosed, so I knew I didn't qualify for a heart transplant. I didn't even ask him. So I said, how long do I have? Oh, some people live till this and live happy. I said, no, look at me. Look at my history. You know me very well now. I'm not shy when I'm in a doctor's office or when I'm in real life. I'm not a shy guy. I'm that guy that I'm in the room when I go in the room. And my doctors, all of my doctors, from my psychiatrist to my psych ward doctors to my cardiologist, all remember me very well, and I have kind of VIP status to cut the line, and even of the phone calls, if I call them, they'll call me back fast. Um, and that's not an ego thing. I'm just saying I'm very aggressive in finding out if I'm going to die in 4 years, I'm not going to waste my time doing this, this, and this. So he said, his answer was, look, all I can say is you're not going to live to 80. That was his answer to me. And I said, so you're saying I could live to 75 if I do the right thing and keep my ejection fraction up? And he said 100%. And if you study my particular heart failure, it's called cardiomyopathy. People have lived past 80. He was just saying with the damage I've done to my body, they have me with this defibrillator and pacemaker on, where when I paid myself money from my job, my business, that was a day I would, get fucked up and relapse. And I would go for my monthly robotic testing, because this needs to be hooked up to my Bluetooth. And it would be, they show the levels of stuff. The lady tells me this and this. And she would always say, right in front of my wife too, she'd say, you will have 216 episodes on the 23rd of the month, always the last weekend of the month, it seems like. And my wife would just look at me and go, and she goes, and my wife goes, can you tell what time they are? And she would go, 3:15 in the morning, 4:15 a.m. And those are the nights I would go out and smoke crack. So just a little side note. But again, thank you all for watching. I appreciate it. Shout out to the people I've been privately speaking to. Just some people just checking in, saying hello. Some people shooting the shit. Some people giving me advice. Some people asking for advice. I love it all, man. Thank you guys. God bless you guys. Howie, Common, Frank, Fortolino, keep up your shows, please. That's all I have. TV sucks right now. And God bless everyone. If anyone has any questions, or I said something wrong or insulting in this show, let me know. And I'm not going to fight you about it. I'm going to learn to change and make improvements. And that goes for you too, Mustache Pete. I know I take your criticism personally, but, you're another one I've been forgetting to shout out and thank. I think it's just because you're not a content creator with your own show, but, don't think I ever forget your phone call either that day. And BK, again, the reason, just to show you I still have humor, that was why I made the title what it was. I figured everyone would jump on being like, oh, he's going to talk shit, they're going to be fighting again. No, it was not that at all. I just wanted to show you, A, I still have a sense of humor, I'm a normal person, and B, I'm asking for help, because that's what I was told to do by my therapist. Also, I've been staying clean, just so you know. I haven't been overdoing my meds, and that stuff's been good. And that's it. I've been spending a lot of time with my son. Anyone who wants an update, next time I come on, I'll talk about updates on my life when it comes to staying sober and how I've been handling it. All right, thanks, guys. Have a good day.